Something that I've been asked a few times lately is how to prepare the perfect groundbait and leam mix. It's something that people have found difficult, is how to get the concentrate between groundbait and leam right, and to get the groundbait going into the water in the correct manner. What I want to show you today is what I believe to be the most foolproof way of mixing the two groundbaits together. We'll start with the groundbait itself. We're using a sweet fish meal magic and lake mix today. We're at Barston Lakes, which sees a lot of carp bait going in, hence the sweet fish meal magic. A little bit of fish meal never hurts a commercial fishery. The fish see a lot of pellets and it really won't harm today's fishing. And lake is a foolproof ground bait wherever you go across the country. Now, the reason I start with the ground bait is because if you add the leam and the ground bait together, it's very, very difficult to get the perfect mix, because if you over wet it, you won't be able to get it back into a usable condition. So if we start with the ground bait, what I like to do is to get it relatively wet. It will take a decent amount of water, 2 bags of ground bait. Don't worry about the ground bait being slightly wetter than you would ordinarily use it if you were not adding leam, because once the leam is actually added to the ground bait, it will absorb some of the water that you're putting into the mix itself. What we're using today is a 50-50 ground bait and leam, which should add a nice cloud to the water. The ground bait started to absorb the water nicely now. It's just started to form little balls, so it is on the damp side and wouldn't be any good if you were looking to use it on its own. It would be far too wet, but it's going to be perfect for when we add the leam in a moment. I feel that ground bait's about right now. It's wetter than I'd ordinarily use it, so we'll set it aside and just talk about the leam. I've already riddled the leam into the bucket here, and it's quite wet today, the leam. It does vary from bag to bag, but it is quite wet. The reason I've riddled it is because if you were to empty it straight from the bag, it's quite lumpy. But now that it's riddled, it can be added straight into the ground bait. It's always important to check the ground bait. You do want it slightly wetter before you add the leam. I'm just going to give that a little bit more water now. For me, the ground bait's now perfect. It's started to form little balls and it's ready for the leam to go in. The leam will absorb this extra water that's in the ground bait now when it goes in. It may be that we have to add a little bit of water via an atomizer. So, very simply, tip all of the leam straight into the ground bait and start to turn it over. I can already feel that ground bait is starting to dry out a little bit with the leam in it. You can mix ground bait and leam together, but it's something that's only worth doing if you've had some experience with it, because it's a very expensive way to waste bait if you get it wrong, because there's simply no way of salvaging the mix. Now, as I've said, that ground bait has started to dry out a little bit, so I'm just going to atomise the top of the mix and just keep turning it over. It's not far away from being about right for today. It's a 50-50 ground bait and leam mix, which is nice because you can make it into very hard balls if you want little or no cloud, but you can also hold it very softly together. And if you want to feed it with a catapult or via hand and create a cloud into your peg, which is a great way of attracting skimmers into your area, you can do so as well. Now, I'd say that's just about right now. Just wet enough that you can start to form a ball. Takes a bit of time to get it right, but it is important to take your time with ground bait. In many ways, it's the most important part of your day, because if the ground bait's wrong and you introduce it into your peg in the first 10 minutes of the match, there's no way of changing your approach for the day. Now, I'd say that's perfect. We'll just pass it through a riddle now, and it'll be ready for feeding. just a little bit at a time through the riddle, removing any of the lumps that have been caused by the ground bait. Discarding anything that won't go through the riddle is fine. There are always some larger lumps in ground bait. And there we have it. The perfect Leam and fishmeal mix.